How many snaps did they run in the 14 personnel?
That's only for us.
100% of the snaps.
What's going on, everybody? Marco here with 14P, and I am here to tell you which Dynasty wide receivers you need to get ready to sell or sell right now if your trading and adding and drop window is not closed, which it shouldn't be. But let's jump right into it. You know what? Actually, pause. Before we jump into it, I want to remind you our Patreon is happening right now. Here we go. And you can support us, support our YouTube channel. Anything that we are doing is basically just our own time, and anything we do to use softwares or anything to edit or create these videos are all just kind of on us. So if you would love to just support us so we can continue to do this, you can go to our Patreon and subscribe and just be a $2 a month contributor to support what we do. If you want access to dynasty rankings, tiered dynasty rankings, rookie rankings, tiered rookie rankings, which we're updating fairly regularly, you can donate or be a part of supporting us at $5 a month. And it goes a little bit more up from there. But go ahead and check out our Patreon. Obviously, subscribe to the YouTube channel that you're watching this on right here, or you can follow me on Twitter at Marco_14P, and I will answer any questions that you may have, or you can always just _14P as well. All right, so let's jump into my first wide receiver to sell, and that is Amari Cooper. Now, Amari Cooper might be someone who's a little bit harder to sell right now. He didn't have a very good season. This was one of my calls that I got wrong in this last offseason. I thought that he would really kind of separate himself from kind of the talk that he was done. He was not going to be, the guy there because it was going to be CeeDee Lamb. And I actually thought CeeDee was going to be good, but I thought it would be a little bit more even. And really what we saw from Amari is that he's not done. He was injured. He had COVID. Dak was really inconsistent during this season. And Amari could be someone who is either a Dallas Cowboy next year or after next year, or he can move on. They can move on from him and basically lose nothing. The Cowboys can. So he's got a lot of question marks, and he's age 27. So this is not like too old for a wide receiver. A lot of the times wide receiver true breakouts, like their alpha season, is ages like 26 to 28. So he could be still in that window. The big thing is we don't know if Dak is going to be a hyper consistent quarterback when it comes to targeting specifically Amari Cooper. That's the big thing with Amari, is that he's not seeing consistent targets. And some games he might have 3 targets. Some games he might have 10 targets. And when that's happening, that's just not a guy you want to really rely on. And that's kind of been his thing at Amari's in fantasy. And so this is the time to move on. You probably can't get a ton from him. So Amari might be one of the guys that you are looking to sell, but you might wait till a little bit closer to the season, or see what happens with Michael Gallup. And I think ultimately, if you can't sell Amari, I'm not selling him for nothing, because I think he could bring, wide receiver 2 value to you fairly regularly, maybe some flex value if he stays healthy, and hopefully COVID doesn't hit. So I think ultimately he's a sell for me. If you can't sell him for something that's really worth it, like I'm looking for maybe a wide receiver who, like, if you can sell Amari Cooper for a late first in rookie drafts, or if you can sell Amari Cooper for a pair of seconds in rookie drafts, I would be doing that. And then I'm trying to think of a player off the top of my head here, because I didn't have one kind of ready for you guys, unfortunately. But when I think of Amari Cooper, I would trade Amari Cooper for a Rashad Bateman straight up. If someone's willing to do that, say someone stacked a wide receiver, and Rashad Bateman didn't really have a hyper impressive rookie season, and they are in a contending point for their team, and they need to win now. Go ahead and try to see, hey, Amari Cooper and something else on the side, and you can get a Rashad Bateman player. Maybe that happens, maybe that doesn't, but I think that's kind of what you can look at for Amari Cooper. All right, let's keep moving here. And Hollywood Brown is my second guy. Now, he's a little bit of the opposite of Amari. He kind of had a little bit of a breakout this season. For a long period of the season, for the first chunk of it, the first half maybe, he was a top 10 wide receiver. He's only 24, so you're probably sitting here and being like, well, why am I selling this guy? I really like Hollywood Brown. I think he's going to be a good player. I think he is destined to be a wide receiver too, for fantasy. basically for the rest of his career. He's a very good player, but I just mentioned a guy in Rashad Bateman that I think is going to truly take over the alpha role for Baltimore. It might not be right to start the season next year, but it will be fairly quickly, I believe. I think Rashad Bateman is a more complete wide receiver. He's a guy that I'm really excited about. And what we've seen from Baltimore is, yeah, they might be throwing the ball more, but the wide receiver 2 or the second pass catcher, third pass catcher outside of Mark Andrews and whatever the number 1 wide receiver targeted on this team is going to just be hit or miss. It's going to be inconsistent. They might have great games. They're probably going to have a lot of down games. And so I think Hollywood Brown is going to slowly move into the wide receiver 2 and the third pass catcher on this team. Obviously, they're bringing J.K. Dobbins back. They're bringing Gus Edwards back from injury. So that's going to also affect how much they're passing the ball. So I think Hollywood Brown right now is a sell. And I think a lot of people are still optimistic and hopeful that he could be close to a wide receiver 1 week in and week out. And I don't think he has that, even though I do like his talent as a player. So I'm okay trading Hollywood right now. And when you look at Hollywood Brown, man, if you could get any combination of the young talent that just entered the league in the last 2 years at wide receiver, that'd be great. Honestly, I'm okay trading Hollywood Brown straight up for like an AJ Dillon. And I know that sounds crazy. I think that's probably the lowest I'd probably sell him for. But I think AJ Dillon is a guy whose point trajectory is going way up, even with the presence of Aaron Jones. And Hollywood Brown's is kind of it's not going down, which is why you can sell him, but it's kind of going to be flatlining for a while. And I think that that's okay. Again, he's a guy similar to AMARI, where if you're not getting exactly what you want for him, hold him, because he's not going to really hurt your team. He's just not going to do anything special for your team, I don't think, in 2022, and especially beyond that. So I'm okay selling Hollywood Brown. Let's keep moving to the third guy on my list, and that is DeAndre Hopkins, for obvious reasons. I mean, I don't need to spend too much time on DeAndre Hopkins. His target share has dropped. His target share was inconsistent. They are a team that spreads the ball out, spreads the ball around. Who knows what's going on if AJ Green, Rondale Moore, Christian Kirk, what they're going to do with that group, who they're going to bring in the offseason, if they make a move to draft someone in the middle of the round, mid rounds of the draft, who knows. But he is 29. He's still DeAndre Hopkins, so he's a good player. He's a top 20, top 25 wide receiver, probably. So again, similar to the guys above, you don't need to sell him, but he would be a smart guy to sell right now. And I think he would be one of the guys I want to sell more because you can than the last two, because you can probably get more for him based on just name value alone. And he's closer to that cliff where it's going to fall off. So find the contenders in your league and move him to one of those teams as fast as you can. And if you are a contender and you're just looking to kind of make your team a little bit younger because you are kind of aging up, then go ahead and trade him to I know this is kind of like counterintuitive. Trade him to another contender that's got a lot of young pieces and is set up for the long haul, because you are trying to create a dynasty here, right? So try to move Andre Hopkins. He's the guy that I would trade. Try to see, honestly, if there's someone in this draft that you really love and it's a top 5 pick in the first round, trade DeAndre Hopkins for a top 5 pick in this round or in this rookie draft plus. And I think you can do that pretty easily. But I think there's a clear tier break right now after the top 5 rookies in this draft. If you're not playing Superflex, and honestly, if you are, I still think there's a tier break at the top 5 players, and none of them are quarterbacks. But we'll talk about that another day. But yeah, go ahead. Try to trade Hopkins for a top 5 pick plus a little bit, plus maybe a wide receiver 2 or a running back with upside that hasn't done a ton. I think you can truly do that and not lose a lot. So let's keep moving here to my final guy on the list, and this is a guy who's going to probably make a lot of people frustrated. But it's KADARIUS TONEY. He's 22, obviously. This was his rookie season. He showed flashes, and that's why you can sell him for more than he's going to be worth. The Giants organization is an absolute mess. Who knows what's going on with Daniel Jones? Who knows what's going to go on with the coach and the GM options there? But KADARIUS TONEY's one big flash or 2 moments in this season are going to be KADARIUS TONEY, a manager's greatest opportunity to sell him. I called him as one of my busts in the draft last offseason. Him and Rondale Moore were 2 of the guys I was saying, hey, these guys aren't going to be fantasy superstars. And KADARIUS TONEY had a moment where people thought maybe this could be the next Odell Beckham or the next superstar for the Giants. He's not going to be that. go ahead and sell him. I'm okay selling him for whatever you can get for him. Obviously not like a 3rd round rookie draft, a draft pick, but if you could sell him for, late first, I'm fine doing that. If you can sell him for a couple seconds and a player, I would love that. I mentioned AJ Dillon earlier. If you could sell him for AJ Dillon and maybe something else small, or if you could just sell him for AJ Dillon. I talked about AJ Dillon a lot, but I think Aaron Jones moves on in the next year or two because they can do that with his contract. And I think AJ Dillon is going to kind of be the lead guy for a while, even if Kylan Hill mixes in. So I like AJ Dillon as a guy who you can buy low on. And those are the guys you want to target, the guys that you can buy low on because they're coming into more work, most likely in the next couple of days or next couple of years here. And he looks like he started to take over some of the really valuable touches, like the goal line stuff. So look for guys who have the opportunity in front of them. They have maybe one guy ahead of them that could make them a superstar if they were to go down or they were to get moved. And that's the guys you want to move these wide receivers for, because that's kind of where you're going to gain value rather than a superstar and you're trying to pay out the butt for them. So go ahead and try to move these guys. Like I said, Kadarius Toney, I don't think we're looking at a superstar in the NFL. I don't think we're looking at a superstar for fantasy football. Go ahead and try to sell him along with Amari Cooper, Hollywood Brown, and DeAndre Hopkins. Thanks for hanging out. If you have any questions, drop them below or hit me up on Twitter at Marco_14P. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time. Peace.
How many snaps did they run in the 14 personnel?
That's only for us.
100% of the snaps.